Hi, everyone. It's Deidre with Are You a CPS Victim Like Me? I have a guest that is scheduled to join me and tried to long on, but she's having some tech issues right now. So if she's able to figure those out, then she'll go ahead and join us and we'll go from there. But in the meantime, for any of my returned viewers, um, I'm glad to have you back. And for any new viewers, again, I am a parent that went through a CPS case myself back in 2020, and I came across Mr. Vincent W. Davis, who I do these shows under. And I continue to do these shows to help get the word out there about CPS and its basically corruption and all the negativity that comes with it if you are familiar with that. So, anybody that is interested in becoming a guest on any of my future shows, I do them every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And you can always call into the number on the bottom right hand corner of the screen, that 888 number, and you can get set up for one of my upcoming shows with my producer. Or you can always reach out through the show here and make a comment, and my producer will get back to you. But in the meantime, I anybody that is familiar with my shows kind of don't know what to talk about when I don't have a guest, because if you're familiar with my story, you know I'm still in the process of hopefully reunifying with my two older children sometime here soon, and maybe I'll be able to speak about the success of that very shortly here. But other than that, again, if you're new, I am a parent that went through a CPS case in 2020, and fast forward to 2022, I lost my youngest that was born 2 months after my case opened to adoption, and my two older boys are with my mother, and she's their legal guardian. So that's why I still have that chance to terminate the guardianship and get them back. But other than that, I do these shows for hopefully other parents out there or anybody affected by CPS to gain the knowledge that I wish I would have had much sooner in my case, because I feel like maybe I could have prevented, the loss of my youngest to adoption if I would have known what CPS is really all about. But unfortunately, like most of us parents, we don't believe that CPS is really what it is and what they're doing. And it's kind of just disgusting to think that a program like CPS that's supposed to be out there to protect children from any kind of abuse or neglect, and, you know, rectify the situation, whether it be putting them in a foster home and them being in a better setting or whatever the case may be. We all know that are familiar with CPS, that's not what the situation is. And not only do they take these children from homes that they never should have been taken from, but then they are placed in even worse situations. For instance, foster homes that, you find out they are abused there and, are trafficked basically. And, they never do get to go back home. And again, it's just disgusting to think, because this system that's supposed to be protecting children not only ripped them away from their homes, but then they put them in these worse situations. And then, the trauma just continues for the rest of their life. So I'm a little bit tongue tied and thrown off because I wasn't expecting to do the show without a guest. So again, I apologize if I'm feeling like I don't really have much to talk about other than the reason why I continue to do these shows for anybody that is familiar with them. And, you know, again, it's just many people are out there that have been affected by it that I have, come across with. For instance, Darren, I met through this platform from Mr. Davis. We used to do shows together with Mr. Davis. He's now branched off and is doing his own shows, and a bunch of other people are now under him doing shows. But again, people like myself and Darren, who are parents that have been affected by CPS, continue to use this fight not only for our own children, because again, we'll do anything for our children, but hopefully to save other parents out there from going through the heartache and the never ending now trauma of, our kids that are suffering, meaning my youngest that now is adopted and I lost. And it's just very unfortunate, because again, the children are the ones that suffer the most at the end of the day. And a system that's supposed to be out there protecting children from trauma and abuse and neglect, they're doing the complete opposite, and all for financial gain, like we all know that are familiar. So that's why I do these shows, to kind of feel like I'm still putting something out there to hopefully prevent another child from being affected by this, negative entity or business or corruption, whatever you want to call it. So I'm seeing that my guest said her camera was working and then she lost connection. She's still going to try, so I don't want to completely lose out on that potential of her coming in today. But again, if she's not able to make it, we can always try and reschedule her for next week because she had, quite an interesting story like most do. And I don't know. Let's see what else I can bring up. I see Betty Jo is joining us here, which I think I've spoke to before back when I was doing shows with Akima. So thank you for coming on and supporting. And she said CPS sucks. Adoption, if you have guardianship, do you still have more rent than the foster parent? I don't know if I understand your question. Meaning because the foster parents of my youngest wanted to adopt, they basically got that option. My mom was willing to be the legal guardian, so I didn't lose my rights. So I guess my mom kind of did me a favor in that aspect. But again, anybody that's familiar with all the funding of it, my mom is a legal guardian, therefore she continues to get paid every month for my two older boys. And she gets paid quite a lot. Where my youngest was adopted and their funding has stopped. So they still won in my eyes because that's what their goal was. They couldn't have children of their own. And this is the route that they chose to go to get that child, which they won. I don't think they really worried about the money. Whereas my mom found out that if she stayed the legal guardian, she would continue to get that money for both of my two older boys until they turned 18. And that's the other twisted part that CPS does is not only do they break apart my family, meaning my children for that matter, but they broke apart my family as far as all my family members I don't have a relationship with, especially my own mother. She is sadly addicted to the money, and it's going to be very interesting to see if I'm successful in getting my two older boys home here shortly, how her life will be affected with that money being taken away. Because I guarantee you, she likes to portray to me that, her life has been turned upside down in a nightmare ever since she's had my kids. But in reality, that's the complete opposite because your nightmare is about to begin once you realize the money is gone. And that's really the only reason why I felt like you were on the side of CPS in the fact that she was never trying to give words as far as saying that, yeah, I think she should have her kids back or going that route. She was more or less like against me because she wanted the money, if that makes sense. Betty Jo said, if you have guardianship, can you still have more rights to adopt than foster parents? Again, I'll just reiterate what I know. I mean, I don't know if I understand your question. For instance, the foster parents that were fostering my youngest, when it came time for my case to close, meaning TPR, they got the option to adopt just like my mom would have. But my mom said, I don't want to adopt. I just want to be the legal guardian because of the money part. Where the foster parents, they wanted to adopt. So they forced me basically into losing my rights for my youngest because they wanted to adopt. So let's pretend there was no money and my mom wanted to adopt my two older kids because there's also stories out there that grandparents are kind of a little off mental wise and think that they need to take their children's children, their grandchildren. But let's say my mom wanted to adopt. She had that option and she could have, and then I would have lost my rights to my two older children, if that's answering your question, Betty Jo. Also, because my rights aren't terminated with my two older children, I do still get a say as far as I do still get visitation, meaning she can't say all of a sudden one day I can't see my two older boys anymore. Where, for instance, my youngest, because they adopted him, I don't have any say so whatsoever with him. Granted, they have still kind of maintained the fact that I will get to see him maybe like once a year. The last time I saw him was a few months ago, but before that, I think it was at least 6 months before that. So, but again, all of the control for my youngest with those foster parents are completely out of my hands. I can't even force any kind of communication if I wanted to. It's all up to them. But with my two older boys, like I said, my rights aren't terminated. So if my mom decided tomorrow that she didn't want to let me see them anymore, I have a say in that, and I could fight that and still go back to court because I haven't lost my rights. And there was, um, visitation order put in at the end of the case for my 2 older boys. So hopefully that answered your question, Betty Jo. But again, Sophia, if you're still listening from anywhere, I think it's kind of obvious that maybe it's not going to work out for today. But I would really still like you to, if you can and you're available, plan on coming back next Wednesday at the same time. And hopefully between now and then, you can get your, I think it was your phone that got wet today or something. Maybe you can get that fixed or whatever, and we can have you on then, because I was excited to hear your story and share it with everyone else. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. If anybody else is watching right now, you have questions, comments, feel free to put it in the chat real quick. Something else I wanted to touch on, just because, I'm always watching everybody else's shows out there and any kind of social media that has to do with CPS. Because again, once you're involved with CPS, it's your life. How can you not? Your children are gone, and every day you're working to, get them back if you have that option. So I came across, I think it was through Darren, which has other people under him. Let me see if I remember. Yeah, so Darren, if anybody's familiar, does his show, Fighting Justice. Now he's changed it. I don't know. It was Tiff and the Punisher that I watched most of them under, but he has other people, and one of them is Sharon, and she does a show called Beauty and Ashes. And I think it was a show that she did just recently, and she had on somebody as a guest from TikTok. And the only way I remember right now, for anybody that wants to search it, that can find this person's TikTok, is Sam's Healing Journey. So if you go through TikTok and look that up, you'll find this person. She brought another kind of way into this that we're all kind of trying to be advocates for, and basically introduced my life more or less to Chat GPT, which I'm familiar with, but she brought it to my attention and everybody else watching in a way where it was kind of cool. She uses it as not only a form of like therapy or like trauma healing or whatnot, but she uses it for knowledge as well. Meaning, like, if you speak to it, and ask it questions about anything to do with CPS and laws and statutes and whatnot, not only does it give you like that AI version of an answer, but it also gives you, she told me, that sense of, like, it sounds silly to say, but like it gets to know you. Everything you say to ChatGPT remembers what you say, and after a while, it kind of almost has a sense of like knowing you, as weird as that sounds. And I kind of like understood what she meant in the fact that, after all this time she's using it, and she asks it a question, no matter what it is, not only does it give her that, Google sense AI of a, factual answer, but it does it in a way where she said the other day she asked it something, and at the end it gave like a heart symbol or something, like as if like, I don't know, maybe people understand what I mean by that. But it made me really want to like look up Chat GPT again and start really kind of using it for that matter. And if you ever want to pull up another conversation, like as far as questions or whatever, and you like the answer it gave you, it's like a database in a way, that stores it all. And so I thought that was kind of cool to throw it out there for anybody that's interested in using it for that matter. I mean, granted, when it comes to laws and like that kind of stuff, you have to like put it in for your specific scenario or case, like anything else. You can't just take whatever it says and run with it, as far as like go be your own lawyer in a case and say, well, I got it from Chat GPT, so there. I'm sure people get that by now, but still, you never know. But anyways, again, I think I'm just rambling now because I never really know how to do a show without a guest. I'm not that social media savvy, if you want to know what I mean. But my point, like I told you earlier, is to just do these shows again for that sense of I'm still fighting for not only my kids, but anybody else's kids out there, that hopefully I can have them come across this video and see it, and I'll catch their attention, and then they'll find more information about Mr. Davis, the attorney that I do these shows under. Again, I always kind of forget to promote that if you do want to be a guest on any of my shows, that does qualify you for a free 15-minute consultation with Mr. Davis. And so if you have an open case, maybe that 15 minutes could really, help you in ways you would never think possible, whether it be you're able to hire him and, actually have him take on your case, which I feel like would be fantastic because he's, I think, the number one CPS attorney out there. But if anything, if you really research his platform, everything on there is just knowledge at the forefront. And obviously it's all free because it's YouTube. And if that doesn't show you enough of his true character, I mean, I don't know what else would, as far as it's all free. And if it wasn't for Mr. Davis and everything I've learned from him, and then everything else that goes to follow, meeting Darren and everything I've learned from him and all the other, advocates out there, I don't think I would even have the option right now to be sitting here saying that I could hopefully get my 2 older boys home soon. So I always joke with him and tell him that, I do anything and everything to promote him, because why wouldn't a parent do that if they came across someone like him? So, I guess I don't have much more to say. Parents, keep fighting. If you're going through a case, don't give up. Keep learning. Like the saying goes, knowledge is power. The more you learn, the more power you're going to have in your situation. But yeah, okay. Anybody else that want to come be a guest on my show in the future, call the number on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. My producer will get you set up. And Sophia, hopefully we can come back next Wednesday and have you be a guest and share your story. All right, everyone. Until next Wednesday, I guess I will see you then. Have a good night, everyone.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted. And if you go against it, it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the last